See, so they're chasing them, they're screaming.
Oh my God.
Coast Guard reporting they have intercepted the sub in the Pacific Ocean, finding more than 12,000 pounds of cocaine on board worth $165 million.
While the world sleeps, the U.S. is fighting a secret war at sea. For decades, the U.S. Navy has waged a silent battle that rarely makes headlines, have managed to sneak past warships, but now the tide is turning. What happens when the cartels get desperate? And how far will they go to flood America with drugs?
Already stuffed to the ceiling with bales of confiscated cocaine.
Join us as we uncover how the U.S. Navy drops the hammer on cartels. The rise of narco submarines. The battle against drug smuggling at sea is far more complicated than most people realize. It's not just about fast boats or hidden shipments anymore. Drug traffickers have taken to using fully functional submarines. These underwater vessels often stay submerged, nearly invisible to regular radar systems. On each trip, they can carry cocaine worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a huge payoff for the traffickers. The use of these submarines didn't just appear suddenly. In the 1980s, Colombian drug cartels began experimenting with simple underwater tubes dragged behind boats. This was clever, but didn't fool the authorities for long, so they pushed their ideas further. Since the late 2000s, a certain type of narco submarine has become a common sight, and some are still in use today. These vessels are not true submarines, but are better described as low-profile boats. Measuring about 14 meters long, they sit low enough in the water to keep their tops visible. Their color matches the sea, helping them blend in, and their low height makes it hard for radar systems to spot them. This vessel accommodates 5 people and operates at approximately 16 kilometers per hour. A more advanced version of these vessels is the semi-submarine called the CHE. It's larger, over 20 meters long, and can travel faster, around 19 kilometers per hour, covering distances up to 12,000 kilometers. Almost half of this larger subspace is filled with fuel tanks, 3 enormous containers holding 20,000 liters, giving it the range needed for long trips. The cartels have made it hard for authorities to catch these vessels with their scuttle system. This feature includes special valves that can flood the submarine quickly if it's about to be captured. When activated, the sub and its cargo sink rapidly to the deep ocean floor, often thousands of feet down, where it's nearly impossible to recover anything. Another notable vessel is the so-called snorkel submarine. Unlike the low-profile boats, this one closely resembles a traditional submarine. It measures approximately 24 meters in length, with a smooth, rounded shape. This model can nearly fully submerge underwater, with only a narrow snorkel tube extending above the surface. This snorkel lets its engine breathe by pulling in air to cool the engine and provide fresh oxygen to the crew, hence the nickname. But how are these seemingly simple vessels built with such advanced features, and what makes them so difficult to detect? How narco subs outsmart detection. Unlike most naval submarines, these narco subs are not made from steel or metal. Instead, their hulls are constructed from fiberglass, making them lighter and easier to build with limited resources. Power comes from a diesel engine, while an onboard generator supplies electricity to essential systems, including a camera mounted on the snorkel. This camera allows the crew to see what's around them while submerged, helping them avoid detection. The sub is equipped with ballast tanks that take in water, enabling it to dive deeper when it senses danger nearby. Inside, the space is tight, but surprisingly well equipped for such a craft, featuring a small toilet and a sink, simple comforts that help the crew endure long voyages. This snorkel sub, in particular, can carry up to 8 tons of cocaine, traveling thousands of kilometers from Colombia to Mexico, or even farther. Although none have ever been caught at sea, several have been seized on land, indicating their effectiveness and success. The fact that such complex vessels are built deep in remote jungles, far from conventional shipyards or modern factories, is truly astonishing. These submarines are crafted by a rare group of highly skilled builders known as master builders, and each creates a unique design that reveals their signature. In November 2020, authorities discovered a fully submersible Narco submarine measuring approximately 12 meters in length. Unlike other models, this one does not have a diesel engine or fuel tanks in the rear. Instead, it's powered by a massive battery pack weighing 10 tons, which runs 2 electric motors. This is the height of Narco sub-innovation, with construction costs estimated around $1.5 million. Dive planes control their depth underwater, and the batteries give them about 12 hours of operation. Moving at around 5 kilometers per hour, the sub's range is roughly 60 kilometers. It isn't built for speed or long journeys because it doesn't need to be. This sub can be towed behind larger vessels, allowing it to travel undetected over long distances. When close to shore, or if the Coast Guard approaches, the sub detaches and continues silently on its own. This electric-powered submarine is incredibly difficult to detect. So far, only one has been found, and it was discovered on land in the jungle. However, there are likely many more quietly operating at sea, just like the others, which proves its success. A clear example of how advanced these submarines have become came in 2024 during Operation Orion. A Narco sub was intercepted while crossing the Pacific Ocean, having traveled over 10,000 miles on its way to Australia.
Officials say it's the third such vessel seized, indicating a drug smuggling route across the Pacific.
This not only revealed the opening of a new smuggling route, but also demonstrated that cartels now possess submarines capable of undertaking extremely long journeys. The battle between drug traffickers and military forces is a constant back and forth. Each new submarine design prompts governments to develop better ways to detect them. Today, authorities use tools such as thermal imaging, drones, and AI-powered pattern recognition to detect the subtle wakes or faint heat signals these submarines emit. Despite these efforts, experts estimate that for every submarine caught, 3 or 4 manage to slip through, successfully delivering their precious cargo and fueling the global drug network. So, the question remains, how do you stop an almost invisible submarine? The interception. Facing this overwhelming challenge from powerful drug cartels, the international community came together to launch Operation Martio, the largest coordinated drug interdiction effort ever seen. By early 2012, it was clear that no single country could handle the growing threat alone. The name Martio, meaning hammer in Spanish, reflected the force and unity behind the mission. This alliance brought together 14 nations, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Spain, Guatemala, and Honduras. Rather than fighting cartels on land, Operation Martillo focused on disrupting their critical shipping routes. Naval vessels, aircraft, and elite forces patrolled the seas, stretching from South America to the U.S., creating a strong blockade to stop drug shipments. The impact was immediate and significant. Within its first year, the operation led to the capture of 339 traffickers and the seizure of 101 vessels loaded with narcotics. In 2011 alone, authorities confiscated 19 tons of cocaine, worth approximately $2.35 billion on American streets. In addition to drugs, the operation recovered $21 million in cash destined for the cartels and $16 million in equipment used to hide or move the illegal cargo.
Over the last year, the Coast Guards took over 455,000 pounds of cocaine off the water.
Operation Martillo marked a turning point, but it was only the beginning. Fast forward to late 2024, when Operation Orion expanded this global fight even further. Over the course of 6 weeks of intense cooperation, the participating nations exchanged intelligence, monitored suspicious vessels, and intercepted drug shipments worldwide. Orion's results shattered previous records. 225 tons of cocaine were seized in a single sweep. When combined with over 1,000 tons of marijuana and other substances, the total haul's street value topped an astonishing $8.5 billion, setting a new standard in the global war on drugs. Each nation involved in Operation Orion brought unique skills and resources to the table. The United States supplied cutting-edge radar technology that could detect even the faint wakes of small boats from satellites high above. The Netherlands added underwater drones that inspected vessels beneath the surface. Colombian forces applied their deep knowledge of jungle terrain to pinpoint where submarines and boats were launched. Even countries without coastlines played a role, tracking financial flows and communications that supported the trafficking networks. What truly set Operation Orion apart was its unprecedented level of coordination. Military leaders from dozens of countries collaborated in real-time command centers, sharing live updates and coordinating strikes across multiple time zones. Whenever traffickers tried to change course after hearing of a raid, they often sailed straight into the patrol zone of another participating nation. Beyond simply seizing drugs, these missions gathered critical intelligence. Every captured crew member, vessel, and intercepted message helped build a clearer picture of cartel operations. Detailed maps of smuggling routes expanded, and lists of cartel contacts grew longer with each success.
These drug interdictions in international waters can be spectacular.
As a result, cocaine prices on U.S. streets rose due to shrinking supplies. The message was unmistakable. No matter how clever their tactics, traffickers could no longer count on the oceans being a safe passage. Faced with such relentless pressure from the United Countries, drug cartels had to develop new, more dangerous technology to stay ahead. But what kinds of advanced machines do these criminal organizations use to escape capture? The hot pursuit. Drug traffickers don't rely on ordinary boats to move their illegal goods. They've built an impressive fleet that could rival some small navies. At the heart of this fleet are two very different but equally threatening types of vessels: fast, agile speedboats and secretive, submerged submarines. The speedboats, often called go-fasts by smugglers, are the classic choice for moving cocaine quickly. These boats are about 30 feet long and powered by 3 or 4 powerful outboard engines, each with roughly 250 horsepower. Imagine strapping several sports car engines onto the back of a small boat. This setup allows them to reach speeds over 80 miles per hour, making it almost impossible for authorities to catch them during a chase. Go-fasts are designed to stay low in the water and usually have a blue paint job that helps them blend into the sea. Most of the time, only a single driver is on board, leaving plenty of room for fuel and drugs. With extra tanks holding up to 2,000 gallons of fuel, these boats can cover distances greater than 500 miles without refueling, enough to cross routes like Colombia to Jamaica or from the Bahamas to Florida. What makes these boats even more interesting is their origin. Drug traffickers didn't invent them. The design dates back to the Prohibition era in the 1920s and 1930s. Rum runners then used similar boats to dodge the Coast Guard, perfecting the fast, low-profile craft that drug smugglers have since modernized with new engines and technology. To fight these speedy vessels, the Coast Guard created special units called HITRON, which stands for Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron. These teams fly MH-65D Dolphin helicopters armed with machine guns and sniper rifles. When a go-fast is spotted, the helicopters don't try to chase it on the water. Instead, they swoop in from above and use loudspeakers to order the boat to stop. If the driver ignores the warnings and keeps running, HITRON snipers take careful aim at the boat's engines with 50 caliber rifles. Their goal is to shut down the engines without injuring anyone on board. This method has proven so successful that drug traffickers have started hiding their speedboats in plain sight.
The pilots of trafficking boats may be smugglers, but they also have nerves of steel.
They often disguise go-fasts as fishing boats, adding fake gear or building secret compartments below the waterline to hide cocaine. So if authorities inspect, the boat looks empty. Some cartels have even designed hybrid vessels that blend the speed of go-fasts with submarine-like stealth. These low-profile boats sit very low in the water, with only a small part visible above the surface. Painted ocean blue and built with radar-resistant materials, they're much harder for patrol planes to spot. Although these boats travel slower, around 30 miles per hour, they offer a better chance of avoiding detection. With fast boats speeding across the waves and submarines moving quietly beneath, traffickers employ a twofold strategy that keeps law enforcement guessing about the next shipment's origin. But drug cartels were not prepared for America's secret weapon at sea. How could a single ship cost the drug lords $500 million? The beginning of the end for cartels. At the start of 2025, one ship sent shockwaves through the drug trafficking world across South America. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter James became a relentless force against cartels during a non-stop 112-day patrol that traffickers still fearfully recall. Stretching 418 feet long, the Legend-class cutter James is like a self-contained city on water, built solely to chase down drug smugglers. Staffed by 150 skilled crew members working in shifts day and night, the ship can stay out at sea for months without docking, making it a perfect hunter for tracking illegal drug routes. What set the 2025 mission apart was its outstanding results. Over fewer than 4 months, the cutter James seized more than 48,000 pounds of drugs, enough to supply a medium-sized American city for an entire year.
2 high-speed chases across the Pacific Ocean ended with a massive cocaine bust.
The estimated street value of this haul was about $510 million, dealing a massive financial blow to cartel operations. The operations in January were especially notable. On January 5th, the crew launched a special drone that spotted a suspicious boat off Ecuador's coast. Unlike typical military drones, the Coast Guard's maritime drones can fly continuously for 8 hours and are equipped with high-tech cameras that can read a vessel's name from miles away. The drone quietly followed the target until boarding teams moved in, capturing 3 smugglers with more than 2,250 pounds of cocaine. Just 1 day later, on January 6th, the USS Cutter James had a major success. Working with maritime patrol aircraft, they located 3 go-fast boats traveling together, a rare and dangerous tactic for traffickers. Using helicopter squads, they stopped all 3 boats in a tightly timed operation, arresting 9 suspects and seizing nearly 14,000 pounds of cocaine. On January 7th, the smugglers switched tactics, deploying a low-profile vessel built to slip past radar undetected. But the hit-run helicopter team was prepared. Using expert marksmanship, they took out the boat's engines without hurting the crew on board. This stopped another 8,249 pounds of cocaine from reaching the streets of the United States. Later, on January 18th, when traffickers tried to avoid capture by dumping their cargo into the ocean, the cutter James didn't back down. Its fast pursuit boats chased after the smugglers, while other crew members gathered the floating drug packages from the water. Nearly 6,000 pounds of cocaine were recovered, worth millions and a major loss for the cartels. The Navy joined the fight too. Ships like the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul and USS St. Louis carried out their raids in the Caribbean, capturing hundreds more kilograms of cocaine.
Part of the 26,000 pounds of drugs that the Coast Guard seized and unloaded yesterday.
These combined efforts dealt a serious blow to the Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation cartels. Intelligence collected during these missions uncovered important smuggling routes, identified key cartel players, and revealed new ways traffickers are moving their drugs. This information is now guiding the next wave of law enforcement actions aimed at breaking up these criminal networks. The Pentagon has also sent the USS Gravely, a powerful Navy destroyer armed with dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles, to patrol the Gulf Coast near the Texas-Mexico border. This deployment is designed to support the U.S. Border Patrol and Coast Guard, extending their operational reach in both American and international waters. With this advanced warship on duty, authorities hope to strengthen their ability to intercept drug traffickers before their shipments ever reach the shore. Behind every major drug bust, though, there's always a hidden mastermind pulling the strings. Who really controls this multi-billion-dollar game of cat and mouse? The Dream Team. The United States runs a highly effective team known as Joint Interagency Task Force South, JIATF South for short. Based in Florida, this group's job isn't just to react. They stay ahead by planning and predicting moves before smugglers even get started. Acting as a high-tech control center, JIATF South receives information from numerous nations and agencies. They combine satellite photos, radar scans, ship tracking data, and secret intelligence to spot smugglers while they're still far from the U.S. coastline. It's where all the dots connect to give a full view of the drug trade in motion. What makes this unit special is the way it brings together people from very different backgrounds into a focused team.
A suspected drug smuggling boat emerged from the morning fog on the Gaviota coastline and was spotted by a passerby walking a dog.
FBI investigators share space with Navy officers, Coast Guard leaders team up with electronics experts from the Defense Department, and CIA analysts pass intel to customs agents. With foreign partners also involved, they're able to get a clear and complete picture instead of working off scattered pieces. A major strength behind JIATF South's operations is the use of leadette teams, small but highly trained Coast Guard groups placed aboard U.S. Navy ships. These teams play a crucial role because they bring legal authority to what are otherwise military-only missions. While Navy warships like the USS Gravely and USS Bruins can spot and track suspect boats from over 100 miles away using powerful radar systems, it's the LEDET units that carry out the boarding and arrests. This smart partnership solves a legal challenge. Military forces can't typically make arrests, but Coast Guard officers can. This teamwork allows Navy firepower and Coast Guard enforcement to work together smoothly. When a suspicious boat appears on the radar, the Navy ship moves in, and the leadette crew boards the vessel, securing drugs and capturing suspects before they have a chance to escape or destroy evidence. The world witnessed the full force of JIATF in August 2017 during a mission codenamed Big Week. This operation was a focused effort to boost aerial surveillance and intelligence in a high-traffic smuggling corridor. Strategic bombers like the B-1 and B-52, along with advanced surveillance aircraft such as the J-Stars, were deployed over open waters where traffickers are known to operate. These aircraft aren't typically used to track boats, but this mission pushed their crews into unfamiliar territory and a new kind of challenge. To keep aircraft in the air longer, refueling tankers were used. Without these, planes might only stay in the target area for about an hour. With aerial refueling, though, they could extend their patrols and cover more ground, or rather, more sea. That extra time made a real difference. In total, the concentrated effort led to the seizure or disruption of 6 metric tons of cocaine, 6 tons that never made it to American streets. Because of its high success rate, JIATF South has become a target for criminal cartels. Some groups now offer substantial bounties for any insider information that could expose how the command center operates. But the team behind JIATF is constantly adapting. New strategies, new tech, and new partnerships keep them one step ahead in this ever-changing struggle against global drug trafficking. Cartels know that getting past JIATF South by sea is becoming nearly impossible. With the waters heavily watched and guarded, traffickers are expected to start looking for new paths, and fast. The U.S. government isn't sitting back waiting for that to happen. Instead of playing catch-up, they're stepping up the fight and expanding it beyond the sea. So, how exactly does the U.S. plan to take on these global criminal networks before they adapt again? The New Order. On March 4th, President Donald Trump stood before Congress and issued a stern warning. Drug cartels were no longer just criminal gangs, they were enemies of the state. They are at war with America, he declared, and America must fight back just as hard. But the wheels of action had already been turning. Long before that speech, on January 20th, the very day Trump returned to office, covert operations had begun. Even before the public declaration that labeled 8 major drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, U.S. forces were already in motion. Just 2 weeks before the congressional address, Trump had also approved full military involvement in the fight against cartels.
The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing.
Giving the green light for the Navy to join the mission. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the Senate authorized a rare joint training program between the U.S. Army's 7th Special Forces Group and Mexico's elite Marine forces. One of the most noticeable signs of these new efforts came from above. Since the beginning of the year, at least 18 high-level surveillance missions have taken place over Mexican territory, quietly gathering intelligence from the sky. Among the aircraft used, the MQ-9 Reaper drone has drawn the most attention. This drone, often associated with top-secret missions, is not just for watching. It can stay airborne for nearly 2 days straight and travel more than 1,100 miles without needing to land. Equipped with thermal imaging, live video feeds, and a targeting system so advanced it can spot individuals from over 5 miles up. The Reaper leaves little room for escape. It can also be armed. One of its most talked-about weapons is a missile designed not to explode, but to cut through its target with spinning blades, a device informally called the Ninja Bomb. Because of its unique capabilities, the Reaper is now being used in ways never seen before in the war on drugs. In an unusual agreement, the CIA has granted access to the DEA, allowing agents to use some of these drones to track down secret drug-making sites hidden in remote hills and forests of Mexico.
A man has been charged after allegedly crashing a van carrying more than $200 million worth of drugs into parked police cars.
Areas that were once nearly impossible to monitor. Although the use of drones began under President Biden, things changed fast once Donald Trump returned to the White House. Since his return, the number of surveillance flights has grown rapidly, and new aircraft have joined the skies over Mexico. Among them is a surprising comeback, the legendary U-2 spy plane. Despite being decades old, the U-2 is still one of the most effective tools for long-distance surveillance. It flies extremely high, about 7,000 feet above the ground, and its cameras can capture crystal-clear images from more than 300 miles away. This allows it to spot hidden cartel operations, even those tucked away in thick jungle or remote mountain areas, during both day and night. Meanwhile, out over the Pacific Ocean, the U.S. Navy has deployed the P-8 Poseidon, a plane originally built to hunt submarines and enemy ships. Now, it flies over areas like the Baja Peninsula, using radar and sonar systems to track drug shipments moving by sea, especially along the coastal routes heading toward California. Its sensors help disrupt these secret ocean pathways before drugs can ever reach American shores. Another aircraft playing a key role is the RC-135 Rivet Joint, a high-tech plane built to listen. It doesn't just watch, it collects signals. Using some of the most powerful sensors in the world, it can detect cell phone calls, radio chatter, and even scrambled walkie-talkie conversations. These are the tools cartel leaders use to avoid detection. But now, every time they speak, they risk being found. Following reports of rivet joint aircraft flying near cartel-heavy areas like Culiacan, U.S. authorities acknowledged that the Air Force has been collecting highly detailed intelligence on the leadership and operations of major drug organizations. This development has sparked serious questions. What does the U.S. plan to do with this intelligence? The Masterminds. The CIA has remained mostly silent about its latest efforts against the cartels. When questioned, agency officials only said that tackling drug trafficking in Mexico and the surrounding region is a high priority as part of the broader government strategy. They have not confirmed any details about drone surveillance programs or covert missions underway. Behind the scenes, there are talks of increasing support for Mexico's elite counter-narcotics forces. The CIA might provide these units with advanced training, better technology, and new tactics, much like the secretive operations it carried out during the Cold War era. Meanwhile, with cartels now officially labeled as terrorist groups, the U.S. is considering stepping up its response. Multiple sources in the military and intelligence communities say that President Donald Trump has seriously explored the idea of using airstrikes against cartel hideouts and drug labs deep inside Mexico. Drones and warplanes could be deployed to destroy shipments, vehicles, and storage facilities. Discussions are underway among the White House, the Pentagon, and top security officials. Mexico's government has been notified, but remains cautious, with some leaders opposing the plan. Some American officials have even suggested that if Mexico refuses to cooperate, the U.S. might proceed without their permission, quietly carrying out strikes as needed. If these plans move forward, it would mark one of the largest U.S. military actions on foreign soil since the War on Terror began. The scale of the operation, troops, technology, and firepower would be unlike anything the cartels have faced before. When journalists pressed the National Security Council for information, they received no clear answers. That silence speaks volumes. Meanwhile, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has been more vocal. She confirmed that talks between Mexico and the U.S. are happening.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says Mexico's sovereignty is not for sale. Now President Trump says she's afraid of the cartels,
but warned that any military strike without Mexico's approval would violate international law. On the other hand, Ronald Johnson, President Trump's nominee for ambassador to Mexico, has openly supported U.S. strikes regardless of Mexican consent. Experts believe the strikes will happen, but when will they happen? That question remains unknown, but they know that the U.S. will be unleashing hell with the bombers that they will be using. Wiped off the map. The U.S. may be preparing to deploy one of its most advanced weapons, the B-2 Spirit bomber, known for fighting wars at the highest level. The B-2 is nearly invisible to radar and can fly thousands of miles without stopping.
B-2, a subsonic flying wing with a two-person crew, emerged from Northrop's innovative design.
It strikes with deadly precision long before anyone notices it approaching. Powered by 4 engines, the bomber speeds through the sky at over 600 miles per hour, flying so high that cartel weapons can't reach it. One of the B-2's most impressive features is its stealth. Unlike most planes that bounce radar signals back, making them easy to detect, the B-2's shape bends radar waves away sharply, leaving behind only a tiny radar footprint, about the size of a small bird. Even when flying directly toward enemy radar, it often disappears from the screen. Its ghostly dark color isn't just for night missions. The surface is covered with a special iron ball paint that absorbs nearly 80% of radar waves, acting like a sponge soaking up light. This coating helps keep the bomber nearly invisible, even in daylight. Radar isn't the only threat to aircraft. Heat-seeking missiles pose a major danger. Most jets leave a strong heat trail from their engines, but not the B-2. Its engines are hidden deep inside its wings, and the exhaust is cooled before release. This clever design hides the plane from even the most advanced infrared sensors. The B-2 Spirit never operates alone. Accompanying it are Navy E-2D Hawkeye planes, acting like silent eyes in the sky. These scout aircraft use secure encrypted signals to scan the area with powerful radar.
The latest E-2 version, the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, is a game-changer in how the Navy conducts battle management, command, and control,
sending live updates directly to the B-2. This connection gives the bomber a complete 3D picture of the battlefield, tracking enemy aircraft, ground threats, and more, all without ever turning on its own radar, which would risk revealing its position. When targets lie deep underground, such as cartel bunkers or disguised tech centers, the B-2 uses a special kind of weapon, GBU-31 JDAM bombs. These smart bombs feature hardened steel tips designed to penetrate layers of earth and concrete. Dropped from 50,000 feet, they take almost a full minute to hit the ground, crushing anything below, while the bomber is already safely miles away. The B-2 isn't flying blind. It stays linked to the core of America's military command. Satellites provide constant updates, secure radios connect it to command centers, and the Link 16 network keeps it in touch with other forces. Even deep in enemy territory, the bomber remains fully informed and ready to change course at a moment's notice. Inside the plane is a secret defense system that scans for radar threats. If an enemy tries to track or lock a missile on the B-2, the system warns the pilots immediately. It advises maneuvers like dropping altitude, climbing fast, or turning sharply, actions that help avoid incoming attacks before the enemy can react. But what truly terrifies the cartels is the bomber's payload. The B-2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of weapons inside its bomb bays. This might include 16 2,000-pound JDAMs, dozens of 500-pound precision bombs, or even a single massive weapon like the 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator, designed to smash through reinforced bunkers, steel, and rock. If a cartel leader is hiding deep underground, this bomb is built to find and destroy him. While the B-2 can also carry nuclear weapons, such as the B-61 or B-83 bombs, these remain securely locked away for now. The current mission is not all-out war. It is about pressure, warnings, and precise strikes. With such overwhelming power in the skies, the message to the drug cartels is clear. The U.S. is no longer playing games. Those who believed their bunkers and secrets made them untouchable will soon learn just how mistaken they were. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.